I'm on a quest to read every Star Wars novel ever written, because I'm pretty sure there's an ARG hidden in there. Today I'll be talking about Labyrinth of Evil by James Luceno, a prequel to Revenge of the Sith that, well, not in the way that, like, Attack of the Clones is a prequel, it's a direct predecessor. It's during the Clone Wars. In fact, it's so directly a predecessor to Revenge of the Sith that it ends with the setup to the Battle of Coruscant. Grievous storms the city, captures the Supreme Chancellor, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker get word that they need to hurry back and save him, and you even get a little glimpse of Darth Sidious telling Count Dooku the plan for how they're going to arrange their battle on Grievous's ship. And that last bit leads directly into one of my favorite things about this book, is that it very much draws a distinction between Darth Sidious and Chancellor Palpatine. A lot of works leading up to Revenge of the Sith in the real world did this. They wanted to preserve the twist that Palpatine was actually Sidious, which some would argue wasn't much of a twist, but most of the audience was children. They wouldn't know. And so it treats the two as entirely separate characters and never directly says anything that says they're the same. Although you do have Jedi sort of hunting Sidious and finding evidence of him and learning that he has recently been inside of Chancellor Palpatine's apartment building. Not that that's like a glaring piece of evidence or anything. It's the most popular apartment building on the planet. It's where most senators live. But I like the amount of effort that they put into preserving that secret. It at least creates some interesting books where, even though I know they're the same person, it's fun seeing the alternating perspectives between Palpatine and Sidious as essentially different people. Another thing I like about this book is the backstory that it gives to General Grievous. Grievous is very simple in the movies and a little bit underwhelming, and outside of that, he's usually just portrayed as a villain, whether he's a monstrous villain like he is in the 2003 Clone Wars, or I'd say the Tales of the Empire shorts, or in the more traditional Clone Wars, sort of mustache-twirling, cackle-and-run-away villain. He's always just a vague bad guy, whereas this applies a bit more depth to him. This is where a lot of the Grievous backstory that we know comes from, that he was a Kaleesh warrior, that he was once a proud and fierce being who was essentially tricked by Count Dooku into becoming the monster that he is, fully sabotaged and created for the express purpose of being the monster of the Clone Wars. Grievous is a puppet created by the Sith so that at the end of the war, hypothetically, Count Dooku could pin all of his own crimes on Grievous and say that Grievous was really the monster. Dooku was just a principled man led astray by the dastardly separatists. But obviously Sidious had greater plans than that. Still though, it's nice to get a little bit more backstory for him. Now what I like a little bit less than that is the actual plot of this book, as most of it, aside from the kidnapping Palpatine, revolves around a chair. One of the Nemoidian leaders has a very advanced Mechno chair that receives direct communication from Darth Sidious, and so Anakin and Obi-Wan are trying to find the source of that chair and hopefully find a connection between it and whoever is transmitting to it as a way of finding Sidious. But it's just not all that interesting a plotline. It's passable, but I think there's a lot more you could have done with the period leading directly up to Revenge of the Sith. And in addition, while most of this book is fine with Anakin and Obi-Wan's banter, their usual back and forth as always, there's one line that has always really stuck out to me as odd, and I've mentioned before that it's a part of a trend in Clone Wars media in the books, really making Obi-Wan a meaner person than I think he is in the movies. In this one, it's when Anakin messes something up. I can't quite recall what it is he does, and in response, Obi-Wan says, "We should have left you on Tatooine." That's really out of line, Obi-Wan. And in my opinion, it's out of character for who he is in Revenge of the Sith. He calls Anakin his brother. He should not be making casual references about leaving you a slave. Now back on Coruscant though, some more interesting stuff is happening. The Jedi are hot on the trail of Darth Sidious, and as I said earlier, they managed to trace him all the way back to 500 Republica. There's a lot of fun about them being so close and yet so far away, including one entertaining scene in particular where a clone trooper dying sees who has killed him because he knows he's been killed by Darth Sidious, and when he lays his eyes on the face, he comments like, "Whoa, never thought it'd be you," maintaining the secret of who it is, but establishing that there is something to be seen. It's a little bit kitschy, but I thought it was fun. And overall, I think the book is fun too, although there are just a couple of things holding it back from reaching the highs of Luceno's other work. Most of his stuff is very near a 10 out of 10, whereas this, I think I would put it a 6.